Now, Sam sounded pretty excited about making components for the list of things and the individual things. So let's go ahead and make those. I'm going to call the list of things ThingList. Same name as our app. So again, in the source directory, I'm going to make a new file, capital T thing, capital L list.js. Anticipating that this thing will have some styles, I'm going to also add ThingList.css. Before you start typing some JavaScript, make sure you're in the JS file, not the CSS file. Now, this list of things is probably going to be dynamic, but I'm going to make the decision not to add state here. Instead, I'm going to add state to app. The reason is we try to avoid putting states in components whenever possible because it just adds a whole lot of complexity. So if we just manage all of the state at the very top level at app.js, then all of our other components can potentially be functional stateless components. If they need any of the lifecycle functions, like they do things when certain events occur, other than like events that are triggered by DOM events, then we may need to make them real classes. But otherwise, we don't need to. So we'll keep it stateless as often as we can. And I believe that ThingList can be stateless. So that's what I'm going to do. So of course, we import React from React. And we're going to import ThingList CSS. I'm going to go ahead and make this an arrow function, const ThingList equal argument list arrow curly braces. It's going to return some JSX. I'm betting we're going to make a UL. And we'll probably put a class name, not just class, of capital T thing, capital L list. Because that's actually the easiest way to scope our CSS rules to this one component. Make everything in that CSS file descended from ThingList. Then let's make sure we export default ThingList. And we're going to want a very similar component for thing. Go ahead and make the basic version of that. New file, thing.js, and thing.css. Thing.js is going to look very similar to ThingList. We're going to import React from React. We're going to import thing.css, and we're going to create a functional stateless component, const thing equals arrow function. It's going to render something. So all we need to do is return that, some JSX. And probably each of these things is going to be an LI, right? An LI with a class of capital T thing. I'll just throw a hello world in here real quick. Don't forget, export default thing. So we're probably going to use this thing component inside the thing list component, right? Let's go ahead and hard code one in there. Inside this UL, let's just put thing, capital T thing, as a self-closing tag. Now in order to do that, I must import it, right? So import thing from thing. I misspelled import So it didn't do that quite right. We don't need the .js. Now the thing list itself has to go somewhere. We haven't actually used this component yet. So up in app.js, we're going to import that. Import ThingList from ThingList.js. And again, I left the T off of import. And right under the header, let's put ThingList. And that can be empty, self-closing. And you should see this hello world show up.